to Invest Insights. I'm Abby Maloney. I'm joined today by Steve Hepler, the Vice President and Principal and Office Leader for the Raleigh office for LS3P. Steve, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Season 4, we're looking at the new economy that's been created by the pandemic. New norms, new business strategies, new operations. But before we get there, I wanted to start off by asking you, are there any new personal norms that you've adapted during the pandemic, new interests, new hobbies, new technology, new ways of organizing yourself that you think that will last into this post-pandemic world we're entering in?
Well, for me personally, I'm of the older generation, so learning this new technology, including Zoom, has been it's been a revelation for me because, I've always had the IT folks around, and if I ever had a question, I'd just go grab somebody and they would either fix it or teach it to me or whatever. But, we went home during the pandemic and set up all of our offices. We went from 9 offices to 360 offices, and all the technology that went along with it was just phenomenal. So helped me out a lot.
Good. In our interviews, we're consistently hearing how the Raleigh-Durham region is an ideal location for development with Class A higher education institutes, a large pool of young talent, and development-friendly regulations. That said, what would you identify as some of the greatest hurdles that still face new development in the region?
That's a great question because there are a couple that I think are significant. I think affordability, that's a general topic for everybody now, but I think just going forward, particularly in the housing market, as people like Apple and Google are coming this way, we're bringing tons of people. We're attractive from all other areas of the country. They get in here faster than we can build houses, and that puts a stress on everything, including, which I think is another challenge, would be the infrastructure with transportation, transit. It's always been on top of mind, and I think that's going to be looking down the future. It's going to be a deep conversation about how that happens. The other thing, I think, get the permitting process has been challenging, but only because of the volume of development.
Sure.
They're doing the best they can. During the pandemic, it slowed even more because you had to do it virtually, no in-person meetings, and I think just because of the volume, it's really been a challenge. So I think those things probably are key in this area.
And from an architectural perspective, how do you plan for affordability and infrastructure issues and transit issues? What are you thinking about right now?
Well, from affordability, we always are challenged with how budgets affect projects, and we're constantly in contact with our contractor friends, keeping up with and particularly these days, supply chain and supplies has really been an issue with materials, and the cost has risen, and we're having to constantly talk to folks in the community, and particularly throughout our region, about the affordability of projects or products that go in our projects. We're trying to specify them so that they are more regionally produced materials or
Right.
domestically. If you trying to get anything from overseas, doesn't happen. So we're trying to, there are a lot of things that we're trying to do to mitigate the rising cost.
Yeah, because the material costs have been on a steady rise due to global supply chain issues and increasing development demand in accordance with the reopening of the economy. So how have you adapted your design process and client expectations to best mitigate the negative impact of these rising costs? You mentioned a little bit about looking for regional and domestic products. Can you explain that a little bit further and other?
Thanks. It's from when you specify products for a project, a lot of it comes from overseas, and that obviously is not happening right now. You can't either get them, or you can't get them through customs. You can't get them transported here. So we're trying to specify products that are bought regionally, so it's at least we have a chance of getting it here on time. And when the overall costs go up, and we've already got a project underway, for instance, there's a lot of times when we have to talk to clients about the scope of their project, and can they, in fact, maybe if it's a 4-story office building or a 4-story building for some company, for some corporate headquarters, can they shell in a floor, and do an expansion later? We're always looking for alternate materials, you design alternates into the project, which means certain elements are, if you can't afford them, maybe they can come in later. They're already designed in the project. They just have to, find the money later to do it. We're constantly talking to our contractor friends. We have, relationships with almost every contractor in this region, and they're talking to us. We're talking to them. AGC and AIA have coordinated efforts in keeping up with projects, with the cost of projects, with cost of materials, and it helps us stay ahead of it, and communicating with our clients about that. It's communication is the biggest issue. Just stay on top of it and communicate with clients and the contractors and your own team members. And I think we kind of work our way through it. Materials will come down again too. We've seen this before. As as old as I am, I've seen it go up and down for many times over my last 40 or 50 years. And so it'll stabilize.
LS3P has a particular focus on sustainable development and is a part of the U.S. Green Building Council's LEED program. In 2021, how do you see most clientele viewing sustainable development as more of an afterthought, or has it become so integrated into the design process that there's already a set expectation of sustainability? And to further that, does age of the client or the end user play a role?
So we have found that it's kind of integrated into the process now. It has been part of our culture and one of our core values at LS3P since way back in the early 2000s, and it has been on the front of our thoughts on every design process. And the products have come along, the process has come along to the point now you can almost get a silver rating without much trouble. In fact, almost no trouble at all. There's very little cost increase because all the materials already meet all materials and the design guidelines from the energy code have been advanced to enough that it's almost secondhand. And I think the desire is there. I know that certain clients, certain development clients of ours, it's part of their culture. They require it and demand it. I think tenants are looking for that as well, for the safety and the health of their employees. So we're starting to see it kind of as part of the process, and it's something that we've always done. It's second nature to us. So and we really do. Now, one thing they're not doing perhaps in the LEED process is paying the extra bucks for the plaque. There's a whole process you go through that gets that certification and plaque. So the principles are kind of in the core of the project. Actually getting the paperwork and the plaque is something that maybe they are having second thoughts about.
And now that we find ourselves in this new economy and landscape, what's next for LS3P and the architecture industry overall?
Well, we have recently added an urban environments core to our one of our practice areas. We find our cities that we are working in growing, and there's a lot of some of the issues we've talked about here as far as growth is concerned. And we like to, we like to get in there and look at a big picture of a project, and the urban environments allows us to do that, looking at how a project may fit in and affect a community. And it's we from our standpoint at LS3P, we've opened a 9th office in Atlanta, so we're growing within our region as well. We find there's a lot of opportunity just within our own communities that we're in. We're in eight communities now in Atlanta, 9th, and we think there's a lot of growth in each of those cities as well. So it's there's a lot of, we're going to stay regional, at least Southeast, and just do our work there and grow within our own communities, because we're so involved with every one of them. That's one of our we like to be involved with our communities and really like to be involved deeply. And so it's something we've always had a part of.
I'm interested to hear a little bit more about the urban core emphasis that you just mentioned. There's been a lot of discussion about how people are fleeing cities and going to the suburbs looking for more space, and yet you are expanding within the urban core. Why that development?
Well, in Raleigh, there's a lot of opportunity downtown, Raleigh and Durham, the triangle. And there's a good mix of both. We have developments out in the suburbs as well, but there's a lot of opportunity down in the core of Raleigh, and there's so many opportunities and developers are coming in. The homegrown development is maybe a little skittish about doing big projects, but the out of town folks they've just have so much money saved up
Sure.
and set aside. They just see, the faster we can design it and build it, the better. And so it may not be true throughout the country, but at least in the Southeast and particularly in Raleigh, it is really it's a major impact on how we grow here.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. That was Steve Hepler, the Vice President, Principal, and Office Leader for the Raleigh office for LS3P. My name is Abby Malone, and you've been watching Invest Insights. Thank you again, Steve.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can stay up to date on the latest business trends from our knowledgeable experts. Be sure to check out the description below for more information on the segment you just watched. Thanks for tuning in.